now releasing all goblins.
Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's patron shoutout goes to Amy. Thanks Amy for your continued support through Patreon. In today's game, Arja, John, and Matt have joined me. With Arja's infectious personality coming to light by playing Vishgraz, he keeps Marsh Flats, Stronghold Arena, Unearth, Deathrite Shaman, Hardened Scales, Swords to Plowshares, and Nature's Claim. Heir to the Blade, John is playing Korlash, keeping Nightmare Lash, Dark Tutelage, Wayfarer's Bauble, Vampiric Tutor, War Room, Thespian Stage, and a Soul Ring. Matt feels comfortable in my basement because he loves the dungeon, playing Rilsa Rail, and keeps 2 islands, Cold Steel Heart, Thirst for Discovery, Scheming Symmetry, and Dungeon Delver. And I am playing the Kharn deck that one of my patrons has submitted, keeping Return the Favor, Labyrinth of Scophus, 2 Mountains, Humble Defector, Trailblazer Boots, and a Brash Taunter. Arja wins the die roll and starts us off. Before we get into today's game, I want to talk about the sponsors for my channel. Card Conduit is the best way to sell your unused Magic cards. Whether you've got a box of unsorted bulk, or a complete and alphabetized set, there's a great option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% better than using any one buy list, and that's after fees are applied, you can rest assured you'll get the best bang for your buck. If you're a skeptic like me, their easy customer service and detailed reports make the whole interaction transparent and safe. And if you use the affiliate link in the description below, or the promo code MTGMUDSTA, you'll save 10% off their fees. And 401 Games, Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. Not to mention an easy-to-use and great online buy list. And if you use the promo code MTGMUDSTA, your first purchase of MTG Sealed and Singles will be 5% off. And Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest deck. So be sure to use the code MUDSTA or the affiliate link down below to save 5% on your next order. He draws and plays a Marsh Flats, cracking it to go and find an overgrown tomb and loses a total of 3. He then plays a Deathrite Shaman. John's got a War Room for turn and taps it for a Soul Ring. He then uses the Soul Ring to cast Wayfarer's Bauble and passes. In comparison, Matt just plays a Swamp and passes. I like Matt's plan, playing a Mountain and passing back to Arja. Arja's got an Exotic Orchard for turn, and then pays enough for a Stronghold Arena. He then goes to combat and pokes John with the Deathrite Shaman for 1. Arja reveals a Song of Freyalise off the top, losing 2, and then passes. John draws and plays an Urborg. He then cracks the Bauble for a Swamp, and once that's out, casts Inquisitor's Flail and passes to Matt. Matt draws and plays a land. He casts a Cold Steel Heart, which comes in tapped and names blue. I just want to make friends as I play a Mountain for turn and then cast Humble Defector. Arja's got a Swamp for turn and then exiles his Marsh Flats with the Deathrite Shaman to help cast Forgotten Ancient. He then passes after that. John's got a Thespian Stage, and he casts No Mercy, which allows Arja to put a counter onto his Ancient. Matt plays an island, and then casts Dungeon Delver, preparing for his commander. This also has Arja getting another counter on his Ancient, and he passes to me. My turn has me drawing and playing a Mountain. I then activate Humble Defector, drawing 2, and giving it to Matt. I follow up with Trailblazer Boots, and Arja gets a counter on his Ancient, and passes. Arja's upkeep has him moving a +1/+1 counter to his Deathrite Shaman from the Ancient, and then draws for turn. He plays a Command Tower, and then casts Hardened Scales. He then plays a Song of Freyalise. Going to combat, Arja swings the Deathrite Shaman at Matt, and the Forgotten Ancient at me. We each take our hit, and Arja gets to reveal a Bloodspore Thrynax and Lightning Greaves to the arena triggers, losing a total of 6. After that, he passes, and during his end step, John casts Vampiric Tutor, losing 2, and putting a card on top of his library. John draws and plays to no one's surprise a Cabal Coffers. He then copies the coffers with Thespian Stage, and once that's done, casts Dark Tutelage. He passes to Matt after that. Matt draws and plays a Swamp. He then casts Rilsa Rail, who enters, and he gets the initiative, venturing into the Undercity. The first room has him going to find 2 islands thanks to Dungeon Delver, and once that's done, Matt activates the Humble Defector, drawing 2, and donates it back to me. He then passes after that. I draw, but am dissatisfied, playing a mountain, and then draw 2 more by activating the Humble Defector. I pass it back to Matt since it works so well, and once that's resolved, cast Kharn and pass to Arja. Arja's turn has him moving 6+1/+1 counters from the Ancient onto his Deathrite Shaman, which actually becomes 7 because of Hardened Scales, making it the largest Deathrite Shaman I've ever seen. He then draws for turn. Arja then plays his own Cabal Coffers and activates it, making 5 black mana. He uses some of it to help cast Vishgraz. As Vishgraz comes in, Arja gets to make 3 Might tokens. He then casts and resolves a pair of Lightning Greaves. He then gears up his commander with them. That resolves without any removal, and he then moves to combat. This has Arja swinging the Forgotten Ancient at me, and I'm forced to block with Kharn. Kharn takes no damage, but I donate him to John and draw 2. After that, Arja passes. John reveals a swamp off Dark Tutelage, losing no life and putting it to hand, and then draws for turn. He then casts Korlash, and moves the Inquisitor's Flail onto it. John then moves to cast Hammer of Nazan, which as it comes in, equips onto Korlash for free. Going to combat, John swings Kharn at Matt, and Matt chumps with Rilsa Rail, and then John donates Kharn to Arja, drawing 2. With nothing else, John passes. Matt continues into the Undercity, scrying 2 and then draws. He then plays an island, and casts Scheming Symmetry and picks me. Matt lets us all know that he's getting Damnation off the Symmetry, and then casts a Dimir Signet. He then uses the Humble Defector to draw 2, one of which is the Damnation, which he then casts. With it on the stack, Arja responds by exiling one of Matt's lands from his graveyard with the Deathrite Shaman, making a white, and the board wipe then resolves. With nothing else, Matt passes. Having lost my commander, I don't have much to do, so I play a Nykthos and then cast Brash Taunter. I pass after that. Arja draws and plays a City of Brass. He then recasts Vishgraz, taking 1 from City of Brass, and as Vishgraz comes in, makes 3 more Mights. He then moves the Lightning Greaves to it, and he goes to combat. He swings his commander at Matt, who takes 3 damage and gains a poison counter from Toxic. Arja then reveals a land from Stronghold Arena and doesn't lose any, and he also gets the initiative, going into the Undercity and finding a basic to hand. John reveals a Night's Whisper to Dark Tutelage, losing 2 and then draws for turn. He then enchants Korlash with an Eldrazi Conscription, and then casts Sword of Vengeance and equips that onto Korlash as well. John then uses his remaining black mana to cast a Night's Whisper, drawing 2 and losing 2. He then goes to combat. He swings Korlash at me, I sacrifice a land and Trailblazer's Boots in response to the Annihilator trigger. I then block with the Brash Taunter, and after debating sparing me and assigning all damage to the Brash Taunter, John decides it's too risky and just puts me out of my misery. With nothing else, he passes to Matt. Matt draws and recasts Rilsa Rail, retaking the initiative. He moves into the room and goads Korlash, and a Might token as well. He then moves through his phases, passing turn, and during Matt's end step, Arja casts Nature's Claim, blowing up John's No Mercy, and John gains some life. Arja draws and plays a Wooded Foothills. He then makes 7 black mana with the Cabal Coffers, and casts Vraska's Fall, killing Korlash and Rilsa Rail. Arja then plays out a Bloated Contaminator, and moves a Lightning Greaves onto it, and then uses a remaining mana to cycle Unearth, drawing a card. Going to combat, he swings out at John, bringing him up to 6 poison counters, and then gets to proliferate. Arja also reveals a Contaminant Grafter off the Stronghold Arena, and takes 5, and then passes to John. John reveals Exsanguinate off the Dark Tutelage, taking 2, and puts it to hand, and draws for turn. He plays a Swamp, and then recasts Korlash. He then equips the Hammer of Nazan, Inquisitor's Flail, and Sword of Vengeance onto his commander. John then follows up with a Nightmare Lash, and pays 3 life to equip it onto Korlash. He then goes to combat, and swings it at Arja. Arja's ready though with a Swords to Plowshares to prevent a lethal attack, and John gains a bunch of life, but with nothing else, has to pass. Matt draws off the Undercity as he moves into the next room, and then draws her turn. He recasts Rilsa Rail again, which gets him the initiative, and he completes the Undercity. He gets to do the last room twice because of Dungeon Delver, and the first time around he keeps Fairy Mastermind. And then the second trigger has him keeping Tomb of Horrors Adventurer. Matt then gets the initiative again because of the Adventurer, and starts the Undercity over. This has him entering the first room, and finding 2 islands. He then passes, and moves to discard. Arja draws, and plays a Plains. He casts the Contaminant Grafter, and follows up with a Generous Patron, putting a counter onto the Grafter and Rilsa Rail, which become 2 because of Hardened Scales, not to mention draws a card from the Generous Patron. Arja then plays a Phyrexian Reclamation, and once that's out, equips the Lightning Greaves onto the Grafter, and goes to combat. He swings the Mites and Vishgraz at Matt, and the Grafter and Bloated Contaminator at John. Matt blocks 2 Mites and takes the rest, while John has no blocks at all. This has John jumping up to 9 poison, and Arja gets to proliferate 3 times and takes him out, with Matt also going up to 7 poison as a result. Arja then reveals the original Thalia and Avacyn's Pilgrim from the Stronghold Arena trigger, taking 3. He then gets to put 2 counters onto the Generous Patron with the initiative. Once he's done that, he casts Thalia. Moving to his end step, Arja draws from the Contaminator Graft and puts a forest on the battlefield and passes. Matt draws and plays an island. He then goes to combat and swings the Fairy Mastermind at Arja, giving it +5/+0 with Rilsa Rail and brings its power to 10. Once Arja declares no blocks, Matt then casts a Tainted Strike on it to poison out the Infect player and win the game. Game review time. This game was 53 minutes and 26 seconds. Unfortunately, I don't think I got to showcase this patron's deck very well, so I'm probably going to be playing it more in the future. I think the idea is basically to have a bunch of pingers and pass Kharn around to get some card draw, but it really didn't work out that well. It seemed like everyone was afraid of me, which was kind of surprising, or at the very least jealous of all the draw that I was giving away. On the other hand, John's Korlash deck was really scary, and his commander was threatening lethal on pretty much anyone as long as he connected once, which is just really brutal. He also had almost every single keyword outside of unblockable, and it's always fun to see older commanders like this doing so well. The Undercity is one of my favorite mechanics in Magic in recent years. I just love that it introduces an ability that gets passed around to players and promotes combat, and it gives decent value for every room almost. It's a lot of fun, and the commanders that are built around using it are really good. I also love the fact that Matt was able to kill Arja with a poison-based spell, which is just, icing on the cake. Arja was doing a great job infecting everyone, and I was actually impressed with how easily he was getting people up to high amount of infect numbers. I think that Bloated Contaminator was certainly doing a lot of work since Proliferate is very strong when people have poison counters on them already, and Stronghold Arena seems a very good, albeit painful, card draw advantage in his deck. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.